Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Not too bad. It's been a long day, but hasn't been a bad one. My college team opened up with a win, even though it wasn't impressive. I'll take it. So,
That.
Michigan.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm a Wolverine fan.
I thought you were going to say Notre Dame. 'Cause
Oh no.
they opened up with a win, but they struggled.
Yeah, I saw that.
They dropped. They lost an 18-point lead, and they came back in overtime. So
Yeah, I was surprised it had to go to overtime.
yeah.
Where I went to college was right outside of Columbus, Ohio, and being a Michigan fan and right there in Buckeye country, that was definitely that was an experience, we'll say.
Yeah, just we get into a lot of college ball now.
Yep.
Okay, who do I need to let in here? My phone. Okay, there's Linda. She's joining us. You got audio now, Linda?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm all set.
Mhm.
Oh, but it turned out to be a nice day.
It did. Yeah,
I see Bob's not going to be joining us.
no, he's putting in a lot of hours. We got a lot of things going on, trying to get things done, and first day of school, I'm sure he's helping out with the kids.
Oh, I remember those days. I just picked Lily up a little while ago from volleyball practice.
Hi, Chris, are you there?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Michelle? How you doing, Michelle?
Hi, Michelle.
Okay. Chris, Bonus is going well?
So far, so good. We're into week 2 and still moving forward.
Yeah, my two granddaughters are down there. So,
Hopefully enjoying themselves.
yeah, they do.
Good.
They're actually living with us. They decided to commute in this year,
Oh, that makes sense.
save a little money. So
True. How are they doing with their mask, Chris? Is everybody required to wear them or by
So
choice?
we have the vaccine mandate for students, and we're at a strongly encouraged for masking right now. So we don't have a mandate at this point.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully the year will start off good and continue on that path.
I was kind of laughing when we're all just kind of quiet in here. at the kind of like 2 minutes before class when like the professor's there, the students are there, but nobody wants to start because class hasn't started yet. Kind of that moment just now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sitting in the back of the room.
It's like riding in an elevator. Where's everybody look? Up at the numbers.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true, or down at your feet. So Bill, I'm on my iPhone, so I can't tell who all's signed in.
We've got Chris, we have Charlene is on, Gary and Michelle.
Okay,
Michelle, did you have a good first day?
Yeah, it was good. I'm tired, but it was good.
Yeah, our youngest granddaughter started kindergarten over at Eastview.
Oh, yeah.
So
I
I
didn't have any
called,
criers today.
what's that?
Nobody cried today, so that's good.
I think you've got my little cousin in your class, actually.
I do.
You do?
That's
He kind of gets yep, he gets my humor.
so no,
I
no
asked him
parents cried.
if anybody was coming back tomorrow. And he was like, yeah, I'm coming back. I said, I'm not. And he started laughing. He goes, yes, you are. He goes, you're joking with us.
Danny has joined us also.
Okay, hi, Dan.
Hello.
Okay, well, I think everybody's here that's going to attend. Bob is off, he can't make it tonight, and John Crawford, Mayor, if you wanted to share the update from John.
Yeah, John is, I'm not sure if he sent, I think he sent this out to the entire committee, but John is resigned from the committee. So Linda and I will work on getting another alderman to be on this committee. So I'm not going to read John's letter if everybody, I think he sent it to everybody. So, okay. And
I have a question with that. If I recall correctly, a few weeks back, there was an email sent out about adding some other individuals to increase the diversity of the committee. That came out in an email, but I don't remember us having any kind of discussion or update as far as if that's moving forward or not. So kind of curious where that stands.
well, I actually sent a second email to today, and I'd like to discuss that tonight.
Okay,
So,
Okay,
yeah.
I don't think I saw that one.
Yeah, you want to start? We might as well start off with that, Linda.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, we this is an equity and inclusion committee, and I think we're missing a portion of the population in the city of Olean. And
Definitely.
I'd like to work on, including this, and this is not an inclusive list. I'm not sure where I'm missing, but that's why I want to talk to everybody here. We have an Asian population, we have Islamic population, Hispanic, and other ethnic groups that may be in the city, and along with people with disabilities. So I think we should expand this committee so that we're having I think it would be advantageous to all of us to expand this so we have more inclusion, more that we can get a more rounded view. We did that we sent out the surveys, and I think the idea there was trying to solicit where we're at in the city. And I'm not sure if all the surveys have been compiled yet or not. I haven't been on in a couple of weeks or last couple of sessions. So I just an idea in a conversation with the Chairman Witt and Alderman Crawford. We talked about this, and I wanted to bring it forth to this group and just get your ideas, throw it out there and see what you think.
Mhm. So let's hear from everybody. What do you think?
I think it's definitely I think it's not only advantageous, but I kind of think it's a necessity personally. to really get a good, overall view and perspective and segment of the city. I think it's definitely needed personally.
Good.
I agree.
Okay, anybody else?
I agree. I think
I
it's a
agree
good
also.
idea.
I think it's
Good.
unanimous.
Am I
Yeah,
missing, in the list that I read off here, am I missing any ethnic group or that's more prevalent here in the city than what I've included here?
Did you have a member of a Muslim population on there?
I'm sorry, Dan, can you repeat?
Did you have a member of maybe the Muslim population?
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I shared with you, gosh, I think it's been a couple months now. When a person from the Asian population here in our city reached out to me, just being nervous about, if I had heard about anybody else being threatened. And it was back a few months. So there was something going on at the time. And I told that individual, she should let anybody, our police department, or call the mayor's office, or call me if anybody threatened her or her husband. And I never heard back from her. And then a few weeks ago, I just got a little note, thanking me for returning her message. But I think sometimes people are afraid to even reach out to anybody, to let someone know that they feel uncomfortable either by a neighbor or being, something being said to them in the community. So I think that's one of the reasons I brought it up to the mayor, that we should expand our committee and reach out to some of these folks. Has anybody else had anybody reach out to them from any of these other groups?
No, but I think that we've talked about this issue at depth and at length about people not feeling comfortable reaching out to the city, not feeling comfortable reaching out, voicing concerns, voicing complaints, things like that. So I think the more people we can bring in to these committees, the better off we are, because there is an issue with people not feeling comfortable reaching out in our city. And, we can sugarcoat that, or we could just throw that on the table, but that is an issue, and it keeps coming up.
Well, not just comfort, but also a perception about whether or not concerns are heard. And
Definitely.
then will action be taken? Because I here I go. Yeah, we're in the city great at going, nodding her head. Yeah, I hear you. Yep, they sure do. Yeah. But
That or rolling your eyes.
yeah, so I think it's important to recognize that it takes more than putting a body in a chair and having a head nod.
Yep.
There has to be a demonstrative action that happens that deliver. It's like what they call a pop message, a pop of color that says, yes, we hear you, and we're going to do something about it. What do you recommend?
Mm-hmm.
True. Okay, well, how about, Bill, since you weren't here at the last meeting, what we had started doing is looking at the discrimination and harassment policy of the cities. And a couple questions came up, and I met with Bill. Bill's came back to town Tuesday, so he hasn't had a lot of time. So I just wanted to put that out there to begin with. So I asked him the questions that we ended our meeting with last time. And the questions were, as far as this discrimination and harassment policy, there's a portion in here that says that there's a committee of 3 that will oversee this. And we just wanted to know who those 3 people were. Another question that came about was, where are our personnel files held in the city? Are they in each department, or are they in the clerk's office? Also, where do we stand on our HR person? The next one was who is doing the investigations? And then the other one, and I tried finding this, but I didn't find anything, was when was the last time this policy was updated? And then I asked Bill about the employee handbook that I'm assuming Terry Belly has. So Bill, can you address any of those tonight?
Yes, that's the committee of three. We actually, most of the, in all honesty, we have, since I've been mayor, we've maybe had 2 complaints filed for workplace violence. And the policy was last updated, revised. It was, I think it was around
I thought 2006. Yeah,
2006, yeah.
I didn't want to put that out there because I thought maybe it had been updated since then, but that's the one
No.
that I,
So that's,
Okay.
that's documented that it was updated in 2006, and we're not just thinking it was maybe sometime around 2006, like we don't have a month. We don't have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the world I'm used to when it comes to policies like this, is that it's very clear, concise, clearly documented. And it just doesn't sound like we're very sure.
No, we're not. I'm going on what's on there. This was by Trident Insurance Company. At the
Okay.
time, we have our insurances through Southern Tier Insurance Agency. And Trident is I guess you could say is the broker that handles our insurance. Trident also does a lot of training for us. They will come in and do workplace violence, which we do on an annual basis. They review this policy, and it's been working right along since there hasn't been a need to update it. But there can always be updates to it. We follow New York State Department of Labor guidelines. We follow the Federal Department of Labor guidelines. So, and like I said, we haven't, since I've been here, we maybe had 1 or 2 actual workplace violence complaints filed. And one was within our DPW, and the other was here in the municipal building. So those were acted on swiftly. Investigations are done by the department heads. And then parties are interviewed, and then recommendations are made. The one with the DPW, it was something where 2 individuals had differences of opinions, and it was resolved by those individuals having a conference with the department head, and they worked things out. Everything has been working great since then. The one in the building here was early on, I think my first year as mayor, and it was an uncomfortable feeling by one of our employees about another employee. That was investigated very quickly, and the matter was handled, and the victim was well satisfied with the way it was handled. So, do we need some work on these? Sure we do, but they're things that we've dealt with. They're here. Employees know where they can go. They can go to their immediate supervisor if they have a complaint. They can go to if they don't feel, if it's the supervisor that they're complaining on, they can go to the department head. If it's the department head that they're complaining about, they can come to the mayor's office. So we have a process in place.
So Bill,
So who are
So
the
Bill-
3, who's the 3 that are assigned based on that policy that are supposed to oversee the quote unquote investigation and make the determination after said interviews, et cetera? You only mentioned the department heads, which means
Yeah.
we're not following our own policy.
No, we're not. In that matter, we're not. It's the department heads, each individual department head takes care of the matter. There's not a group of individual threes that are assigned. You could say it would be myself, the Fred Sheridan in the auditor's office, who handles a lot of the HR stuff with his girls, and then the department head.
So it doesn't sound like we have a very safe and unbiased environment for people to truly address these types of issues, honestly, like from their perspective. I understand maybe from your perspective, you feel that it's a safe and comfortable environment but from the individual filing the complaint, it doesn't sound like we have a situation or an atmosphere where it's conducive to properly address these things. And I'm willing to bet, I would be willing to bet a paycheck that there's several complaints that don't ever get brought up because of the way the system is. We have a check in the box system where we have policies, but at the end of the day, we just play king of the castle and do what we want to do. And so it's not a safe and conducive environment for the employees of the city, is what I'm hearing.
And I disagree with you.
Okay.
We have every employee in the city. They know that they have a problem. It will be addressed. And
we have a policy that we don't follow.
We do.
So that's telling me that the red flag for me is how many other policies that we have are we not following? And what's the true atmosphere and the true climate of the environment within the city employees? Like, to me, that's a problem.
So I may lose signal, but what I think, if I'm understanding you right, Gary, because I feel like in the schools, we have a lot of this issue because a lot of the administration, a lot of the teachers, they're all friends, can't be impartial. So therefore, for me, the type of person I am, I'll go and I'll make my complaint. I won't worry about backlash because I don't care. That's just, I want to be treated fairly. But I feel like there are other people who would not want to go and file a complaint for fear that it may get pushed under the rug. They may not be taken seriously, or then they're a target. So Bill, I think that's what he's saying. So as far as having a group of people who maybe aren't as connected, right? Is that what you're saying, Gary?
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying that issues aren't addressed or handled. I mean, they may or may not be. Obviously, I'm not on the inside. But I know from an outside perspective, number one, if I have a policy that I can't rely on, and to me, that's a problem. That's not a safe and conducive environment for me as an employee, because now I don't have anything to reference for my protection, because right from jump, the policy is meaningless. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if I do bring something up, because of how people are connected, because it doesn't seem like, I'm not saying that it's not, but the perception or the perspective could be that it's not an unbiased investigation or view, because there are so many people interconnected, that I'm not going to feel safe addressing it. I'm not going to bring it up. That, to me, that's not a productive atmosphere. And a lot of people aren't like you and I, Michelle, where at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like, exactly. But a lot of people aren't. A lot of people aren't that forward, and they'll stay quiet and they'll be miserable, and that affects their job. That affects the other people around the city. That's going to affect whether or not we start talking about recruitment. Like, there's a lot of jokes that there's.
I know last time we talked a lot about having the investigation piece, and Bill, you weren't here last time, but we touched on a lot of these issues, and a lot of these issues we're having your department heads do the investigation of which the complaint originated from, and how unbiased that is, based on their relationships within the department, based on their own maybe serving their own self interest, things like that. So, we also touched on the need for any investigation of this matter to be unbiased, fair, clear, and have some credibility to it. And I think we landed on a spot last meeting where we agreed as a committee that having the internal investigation be done internally by the department isn't non-biased investigation. So I understand, Bill, that when you say you only had 2 incidents and, these things, you've handled them well. Well, I think handling things well is a perception, maybe, right? You at the end of the day, you go home and you say, yeah, we fixed that, right? But did you really fix it? I mean, there was a form on there that we talked about that was leaned more towards getting the complaint off the record than it did actually handling the complaint itself.
Oh.
It was kind of the let's check this box before we get to HR and get this thing off of our plate and under the rug type of form. That's how I seen it. And I think there's some room here for us to work on this policy and redo this thing in a way that's non-biased and makes sense for somebody on the outside looking in, not somebody from the inside looking out. I've read a lot of these policies, sexual harassment policies and things like that. And this is the first one that I've seen where the investigation is actually done internally. Mostly they're done by HR. And nobody even has to tell their supervisor that they filed the complaint, let alone hand them a piece of paper and say, here, I want to file this complaint. I mean, that alone makes for a unsafe working environment when your supervisor knows that your filed a complaint could turn ugly depending on their relationship with the other person in the department. It lends itself to a lot of problems. So these are the things that we talked about last time and that we got over the hurdle on. And so it kind of, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of shocked to hear that, that's okay. But internally, when we talked about this last time, but I understand you weren't here too. So that's kind of where we landed as a committee, from my understanding from last meeting. I could be wrong. I've been known to misinterpret things before. So, but that's kind of where I thought we landed and where I thought we were at. And I don't know, like the forms that were on that thing were suspect at best. So I think there is a lot of room for improvement here. So I think contrary to what you may believe, I think we believe that there's work here, and that's okay because we can land on the side of fixing it.
Yep. And one of the things that Mary Elio and I talked about was the need for the HR person to be a full-time position. And I know our council president, Mr. Crawford, also is aware of that. And I did talk to Bill Tuesday about that, and that will come up at budget time, but we still want to get somebody in there as soon as we can. And that also is brought up, and Bill knows that this is something that we think is an urgent need.
But I just want to file another comment up on saying that if we're not following the policy as written, you need to make them adjustments immediately before you even update the policy through the committee. You need to take out what you're not following, because tomorrow you can be in a whole nother situation. And that doesn't set the city up for success. So I think if Bill, you're saying you're not following the policy with the committee of 3 and all that, that should be an immediate update before we even move on, because if anything happens, they're going to hold you to your own policies.
Well, I guess I'm confused a little bit here. Okay, I've got the City of Olean Workplace Violence Prevention Program. Which one are you guys working off of?
It's the City of Olean discrimination and harassment policy.
Okay.
It's, Michigo got me both of these.
All right. I sent this one out today with the meeting notice. So
Now, which one was that, Bill?
This is the city workplace violence prevention program. Okay. And when you talk about, harassment is part of workplace violence, all that. So this is the most recent one. And I'm not sure. I don't have that one in front of me right now.
Yeah, we had two different policies. I believe that we're talking about the other one,
The other one.
Bill, and you're talking about the one that you're currently looking at. We're talking about the other.
We do have a copy of the one you're referring to. We just started with this one, the discrimination and harassment.
So I would suggest to the city that they take a look at their own policy and figure out what part that they're not following and make an immediate correction, and then forward us the immediate correction for the sake of the city.
Yeah, we can do that.
And I will say, so one of the roles I have on campus here is as an investigator for like sexual harassment, sexual assault, any sort of sexual violence. And like the number one thing in all the training we do is that the way that we proceed with the procedure has to be what the policy says. And so if we veer from that, that's the best way for any of our work to get overturned or for us to get sued. And it's also in the best interest of the people who are involved in the complaint.
Well, our sexual harassment policy is taken right from the state's, and I believe a lot of communities just use the state's policy, So,
I think it was the procedure part that folks are talking about, where there's like some roles for the department chairs or the department heads and roles for that committee, the discrimination harassment committee. And if that committee, and I think that's what folks are talking about, if that committee is not functioning, then that policy should be updated. The other thing though, and this is kind of a best practice in the training I've received as an investigator, is that I shouldn't investigate anything in my reporting line. That
Exactly.
any investigation I've ever done on campus has been outside of my area of responsibility, to minimize the amount of potential conflicts of interests. And that includes like students that I have, students are in my class or students that are in a program that I oversee. So it's not just the employees for me, but the idea of having the department head as the investigator, like it might make more sense to have a different department head doing the investigation, or comprising of this committee of three, where a direct supervisor probably should be outside of the investigation. And I think that's also where the HR person, as you've said before, would
So,
really.
I guess then back to the very first thing that we started with the 2006 update. So the 2006 update you're referring to is the policy that you're looking at then. Is that right, Bill? That's what you're, because clearly you didn't know what policy we were referencing.
No,
So we
no.
still don't have an update.
I'm looking at the workplace violence prevention program.
Right. We wanted to know when the discrimination and harassment policy had been updated. So
Yeah.
we still don't have an answer on that.
No,
So
I don't have an answer for you.
Okay, fair enough. And then I guess my other question is, everybody seems to agree that the HR person is of monumental importance,
Yes,
but has that one candidate been interviewed yet?
no.
Okay.
No.
So it's not that important.
It's very important, but
It doesn't seem to be.
It is. It's just been a matter of timing. So.
So I'm just gonna say this because it's frustrating. We've talked about this human resource person for a few months now, and then we get the policies and we want to update them. And I understand that it's only been 2 incidents in your time as mayor, but 2006 was a long time ago and there's a lot of stuff that's changed. So we need to just have the best practice for everyone involved and a place for people to go to work and feel safe. And if they have a concern, that they know they can go to somebody and they're going to be heard. It's going to be kept confidential because that's a huge issue. It's a huge issue in the school. I'm sure it's a huge issue in the city. Everybody knows everybody. People talk. Like, I've heard about stuff that's happened in the school that I should not have heard about. So I feel like that's where we're coming from. And we just need to try to find a way to make that better. So if we had a HR person, that would be one, but then we would have to figure out those other two people on this 3-team position, right? Because there's 3.
If that's what we stayed with, yeah.
Oh, so we're thinking about maybe not staying with that, or
I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Like if that's the process we stuck with, we would still need 2 different individuals. You're
Well,
right, but I know one of the big hurdles is the fact that we're still waiting to interview the HR person.
Well, it sounds like Bill's gonna go back and update this policy to what's actually going on and take out the 3-person committee, since we don't have that, probably never have. I don't know, but you know,
I'm just
I
frustrated.
don't know. I don't know.
I'm
what
very
else.
frustrated. I feel like dog and pony right now. Honestly, I feel like a dog and pony show. I feel like a let's check the box because this is something we should have. I feel every time we get moving towards some type of actual progress, there's some reason, some excuse, actual progress can't take place. And I think it's ridiculous. I think the fact that we're looking at a policy that doesn't have any kind of update on it, doesn't have any kind of information on it. 2 weeks ago, we're still waiting for the information. We weeks ago closed the bid for the HR person, only had 1 candidate apply, 1, not 10, not 15, not 3, 1. And we're still waiting on that. I feel like the value as far as what we're actually bringing to the table and how we're perceived as a committee is a check in the box, just like the time went by way before the police reform committee was ever even established. Weeks and weeks went by before that happened, and nobody wants to address the elephant in the room. I'm tired. I give my time. I work 70, 80 hours a week, and I put my time into this. And then to constantly spin my wheels in the same rut and everybody just walk away like, okay, we'll talk next week. And nothing substantial is actually happening. Can we just acknowledge the fact that right now we're a check in the box committee? Because whatever conversations are happening behind closed doors about all these different things that we want to do, they don't actually progress anywhere. And I think that's a problem. And that's a problem from the top down. Because if the HR person, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that. 1 person, it shouldn't take weeks to interview 1 person. I'm sorry, you can't justify that to me. Not if it's crucial.
And Gary, I agree. I understand your frustration because that's where I'm at. It's like we're working to try to make a change. That's one of the reasons why I put in to be on this committee, because everything that was going on in our world, we need a change. But that's like, are we just checking a box? Because I don't want my time to be wasted. My time is very precious, whether I was off on vacation or I'm working now. And a good example is the police reform committee. Now, Vernon spent a lot of hours on that committee, a lot of hours away from stuff. We used to get in the car and go to like Buffalo or whatever. That stopped because he was dedicated to that and working hard. That's done. And now the council is going back and they're reviewing and going over it. And there's this question, that question. That's double work. That's not fair to people who put in their time. And he spent a lot of time researching, like weekends, nights, and I get it. But not when you are going back and basically saying, okay, this committee met, they came up with this policy, and now we're going to go have the council come back and review it and give their 2 cents and let's say they want to change this and change that. I mean, I sat in one of the meetings when they were going through it and everybody's asking Vernon, all these questions. And it's like, he already did that research. It's right in front of you. Read it, have your questions ready and figure out something and move forward. Because to me, it seems like that's not wanted in the city. This diversity committee, I don't know where we're going with it. And the policies, we're going to create them. Do we have to give our policies we create to the council to look at? I don't want to do that because then that's saying the time I spent trying to do that was for nothing. So-
It just seems like things
and
aren't
I also
important
like-
unless it fits an agenda.
And I would also like to have like the policies and stuff more than just the day of or a day before, because
Exactly.
like I have to-do lists and sometimes that's not on there because that's just how I organize my life. But like, I just want to see progress, and I feel like we're at a standstill. We talked about having more people from other ethnic groups in our committee. That we got that email August 11th, and now we're talking about it again, almost a month later. All the policies, we worked on the social media policy forever. Now I feel like we're going to work on this harassment policy and all the other policies. And we have to get it up to date with the times that we're living in now, not what it was back in 2006 or 2000, because things have changed. And we got to make it a safe place for everybody to work, and so they can feel confident that they can go. If they have a problem, they don't have to be uncomfortable at work. Like, I mean, I was there at one point.
A comment that I'd like to make is, I'm questioning whether or not council is qualified to review, the policies, because there needs to be what do they have, those professional people that go to court, those experts? If somebody's not well-versed in workplace policies and sexual harassment policies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they're starting from ground zero. So it makes sense that the attorney would review it as our, final, checkpoint. But for the council members, I'm not sure that any of them are really qualified by experience to be able to promptly and quickly review a policy that we've updated and then, say yay, nay, whatever. I'm just not, I feel
And I
like,
agree. And from sitting in the council meeting when they were going over the police review board, a lot of it's, well, that's not what they feel should be in there. It's their opinion. And we want to do what's right for the city of Olean residents who have had issues in the past,
Right.
who aren't comfortable coming forward. That's with no matter what policy we have. So I feel like, and I'm not just saying this because Vernon's putting in all this time. Well, part of it's that because he worked hard on it, but the other part is it's just frustrating. Why do it? Why not just have the council make the policies? If that's what we have to have them review it, like it's double work.
good point.
So,
Well,
and
can I
the
say
attorney
something?
is there, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Michelle. Our attorney is there and our labor attorney both reviewed it, and we both have our packet. And this is about the police reform. We both have our packet with their suggestions, both attorneys. That's what the council, the city government is set up to where the council makes the policies. The councils vote on the policy, but we don't do it without legal input, legal suggestions, legal, if they tell us, excuse me, something's written the wrong way or something has been written and that can't be enforced, that's what they're there for.
So if they're
We're
there
not
for that,
to
what are
be
we here for?
attorneys.
If that's what they do, then we need to be reviewing their work. And then it needs to go to the attorneys, it seems to me. If they're there
They're
to do
supposed
the
to make policy.
policies, then I'm confused.
Well, this committee was the idea of actually the mayor and Mr. Gonzalez. So, if you want to ask either one of them why we're doing this, feel free. Listen, I have a
Well,
lot of other things I can be doing on
Linda, you
Wednesday night.
just made a very good point. You said it was the mayor and Mr. Gonzalez's idea.
It was because he
Why
was
is it
council
Mr.
president at the time. And he's the one that said, let's move forward on this. Let's have a committee. It was at the same time with the police reform and we moved on it. That's how things work in the city. Someone
Well-
brings a suggestion to the council. We put together some ideas and we move on it. I'm not
Well,
sure
I guess
where,
Paul can be, Mr. Gonzalez can be John's replacement then. And he
Well-
can help us and we can work on these policies. But I feel like the committee was, we have great ideas, but I feel like we're all over the place and I don't see any end result. I feel like every time we suggest something stops it. Whether it's like a personal opinion, somebody's offended, something like that. So I just want to be able to, everybody can have their own opinion, but we need to move forward. As a woman of color who's had issues with police officers in the city being followed, I want change. And I want that same change for the school district that I work for. And I'm on that committee, but I don't feel like I'm going to get that change. I feel like I'm getting resistance, and that's where I'm frustrated. And that's where I'm kind of ready to hang up the hat, like, and be like, because I don't feel like I'm being useful and helpful to make a change for the people of color, for the city of Olean and other backgrounds. If that makes sense.
no, it does. It does.
I mean, does anybody else agree? Am I way off on this?
No,
Like,
I 100% agree. I feel like a lot of times when we do bring suggestions or we talk about things needing to change, the response is, well, this has always worked. Well, that doesn't mean that it's right. Clearly, we don't review the policies of the city. We don't review how the processes work. We address it how we want to. That's not productive for a diverse environment. That's not productive for an inclusive environment. And then, like Charlene was saying, I get 100%, the attorney reviewing stuff and going through things. And, the council's involvement, if the council's involvement is always after the fact and weeks later, and well, we need this particular HR person to really make a lot of this stuff happen. Like, these are preregs that should be addressed and should be moving. I mean, if the whole purpose of this is, hey, let's just feel good and make it look like the city wants diversity and inclusion, because the action behind the words isn't there. It's just not. I'm sorry. It really is not.
I don't necessarily disagree, but that's why I start off a lot of my statements with I think we agreed on this last meeting. I think we agreed on this last meeting because there's nothing more frustrating to me and the committees that I sit on is to continually review the same thing over and over and over again. That doesn't benefit my time. It doesn't benefit anybody else's time either. So when you guys hear me say, I think we agreed on this last time, it was because we had extensive conversation on it. And you can't keep having extensive conversation on the same thing over and over again. Right. You're either going to make progress on it or you're going to put it on hold or you're not. But you're never going forward if you keep reliving the same meeting over and over again. And sometimes I feel like we're in Groundhog's Day here. We relive the same meeting over and over and over again. Like, here we are again. We're going to relive. We've had this discussion 25 times. We've
talked about having an agenda before every meeting for weeks. And if we get one, it's minutes before the meeting.
But we've talked about this time and time again. This is Groundhog's Day meeting to me. I can tell you exactly how it's going to end. I can tell you exactly what's said. I can tell you exactly. There's nothing, like
Okay,
we as a committee got to get out of our own way.
I'm getting ready to really step in it now, but so be it, because whatever, I'm old, so I can do that. I think that what I'm hearing and what I'd like to suggest is that Mayor and Linda go away and process what they're hearing us say. Because I think that we're at the point where the committee needs a type of experience and leadership for these kinds of committees that we don't have. So we're frustrated because we're doing what we think we're tasked with, and we're not feeling like we're getting any kind of action or feedback, or, you know, like we said, we're stuck. And so I'm wondering if Bill and Linda shouldn't go have a conversation, consult with, you know, other professionals that they know or whatever, and get some recommendations and guidance on, you know, how to bring a committee together for productivity. Because maybe that's it. Maybe we just need a kind of leadership that their expertise doesn't particularly have, either maybe because of subject matter or whatever. But maybe that's what needs to happen.
That's a great suggestion. Actually, I talked to Bill and he's talked to me about, you know, maybe changing up the committee and doing different things. But I think you have a good point. And I think, you know, and for instance, just reviewing these questions, Bill wasn't here last time. So I'm sorry if
Coulda
we're
watched the
reviewing
video.
something we already talked about, but is it fair to Bill for us to just say, well, here's the questions, give us the answer and let's move on?
No, I don't think it's fair to Bill to do that, but if it wasn't the first time, if it was the first time, I don't think anybody have an issue with it, but
Right.
I just feel like we always end up in the same spot.
And I'm
And
gonna beat up on you, Bill.
That's fine.
That's what you get paid the big bucks for, to be the hit man.
Now we're used to it.
Yeah, so.
I understand what everybody's saying. I think that's Charlie, and I think that's a great suggestion, that we reevaluate what the purpose of this committee is, and we come back to you and get the information you need. And I apologize. I was kind of at a disadvantage. I was working off of the wrong thing today, or when I came back. I'm not going to apologize for taking a vacation.
No.
I did
You
that.
don't
and,
have to.
But, and it's been hectic. So I do apologize for, you know, the HR person. There's been some conversations going on. Do we hire part-time? Do we try to go full-time here? So I will get the interview done. I'm going to make a suggestion here that we take a little bit of a break and give us the time to reevaluate, get back to you, and come back with a full commitment to this committee that we are going to make it work.
I think all of us are definitely here because we want to affect change. We want to be here. We want things to progress, things to ultimately get better. I think we can all, you know, I hope I can speak for everybody when I say that, because, you know, it's definitely consuming and it can get frustrating and aggravating. You know, I think, you know, a suggestion that maybe I'll make, I know we keep hearing, hey, full-time for HR, we got to wait till budget time. I mean, when we need to spend money, we throw it in front of the council and ask them about it. I mean, I don't know, maybe this is something worth throwing in front of the council and asking them to spend money on it. You know, and adjust the budget accordingly and do what needs to be done for the following year. I don't know. To me, go ahead. I'm sorry, Michelle.
No, I agree with you, because I think that would be better. That would help us. Then we could have somebody else who could work with us, who has the expertise to do these policies. If we have a guideline, like we should have a guideline for what needs to be in there, what doesn't, so that when we go to work on it, we do it, and then we're not saying, oh no, we can't, it can't be that way or whatever. That's the frustrating part.
Yeah.
So that
I
we
mean,
can keep moving forward at a regular pace.
Chris, what do you think?
If the council says
Chris,
no to
what
the
do you
full time,
think?
the council says
We've
no to
heard-
full time, but I mean, you know,
Chris,
it's.
Chris, what do you think? We've heard from everybody.
No, I'm here basically agreeing. I think if we are tasked to review the policies, then we need to like finish that through and make sure that that we keep moving forward each time. And I know, like, just, I was not looking at the, like, I know, Bill, you were looking at the workplace violence policy. That policy references the sexual harassment policy, which is actually called the bias and harassment policy, but only covers sexual harassment. So there's a lot of like these policy loopholes that I know that we, like, not saying anything new. We've been talking about for a long time.
Right.
So I would just kind of agree with everyone that, like, if we have a succinct idea of what our next steps are and what our next steps should be, like what we're commissioned to do, that would be beneficial.
Mhm. I
Because-
think, can I make a
because-
suggestion? I think between John and myself and the mayor, maybe we could go to the council because we take other things out of the contingency. Maybe is a time to ask for the other half of this position to come out of contingency. I think just going through these policies and, you know, seeing how outdated they are and cumbersome, you know, that policies shouldn't be something that you need a lawyer to read or understand. And I think we just need, as all of you have pointed out, someone to lead us through this change. And I think the perfect thing for the HR person to do is be the chairman of this committee. I think that way we're listening to someone that's their profession. I'm a nurse. I'm not an HR person. Never, you know, even suggested I was.
Well-
So I think the next step should be Bill should interview this person. If that person's willing to work part-time or possibly go full-time, if he thinks he or she would like to go full-time, John and I can go to the council, see if we can take the extra money out of contingency and then move on. Listen, I'm just as frustrated as you guys are. I have lots of other things I could be doing. But I think we need to, and we did bring this up at our last meeting, with an HR person, they can go through and point out exactly what needs to be changed in these policies. And we're doing the work and then we're going to hire someone to do it. It's like, and I think Michelle said it, we're doing it twice. And that's silly. And it's a waste of everybody's time. So that would be my suggestion. And I'll get together with Bill and John and see if we can do that. And I think that would be beneficial to everybody on this committee to do it that way.
I think even
And I
asking
re-
a question is progress.
Right.
And I think I remember one of the things that this committee was charged with was reviewing policy. Now, there's a big difference between reviewing policy and writing policy.
Right.
Right. So there's that fine line that we need to figure out where we're at. Are we reviewing the policy or are we writing the policy? Because that's number two, whole different ball games.
Yeah.
And you know, so I'm with you on that, and I just, you know, be interested to hear what you say. So
One thing that might be perhaps something we can do in the interim, if we all agree, is that, like, are there a set of recommendations that we can make? So recommendation one, going back to like hiring that HR person. Recommendation two is updating these certain policies to include certain core elements or core aspects that we want to see in them. And then if that is given to council, given to the city, right, then as a committee, these are our recommendations. Now it's up to council, it's up to city to enact them.
Right.
yeah, I think one of the recommendations that we all agree on, and I like how you phrase that, Chris, is that the fact that all investigations internally should be non-biased, no matter what the situation is, whether it's sexual harassment, whether it's violence, whether it's a complaint, whether it's anything, should be non-biased. So if you send a policy over for review and it has an internal investigation that's biased in it, chances are we're going to send it back, right? Because one of the recommendations is that they're non-biased. So I think if we can maybe, yeah, you're right, Chris, maybe work on some of them things, that's to say, you know, here's kind of where we're leaning in these new world, then it kind of can help structure the rest of the policies and what we're looking for as a whole.
I want
Is
to.
that what I hear you saying, Chris?
It is.
I just want to maybe apologize a little bit for being a little too aggressive, maybe. I'm just passionate about this. I really want to see some kind of change, and it's really frustrating to feel like we're not affecting that change, especially when there's so many people that are currently affected by how things have led us to today. At this point, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever the intent was or was not, there's definitely a passion to see some positive progressive movement, and so that is frustrating for me. So not intentionally trying to be overtly aggressive, but I just so I want to apologize to everybody there, but I'm passionate about it, and I'm not the kind of person that you can just kind of stroke my ego and pat me on the back and tell me everything's going to be okay. You got to show me something, and I'm not seeing it.
Well, thank you for your input, Gary. Anything else? Let's see, it's about almost 7:30. So how about Bill and I and John get together, work on that suggestion to the Common Council. Bill can go ahead and interview the human resource person. And then Bill and I will regroup and see exactly what we want to do with this committee, and see, maybe clarify some of the points that we want this committee to address. And that way it's more clear to the committee, it's more clear to us. And as I said, I think the perfect person to run this committee is the HR person. I don't mind being on the committee, but I think that person, especially if they have experience, which I'm sure this person has, can kind of guide us, because, when, for instance, we're going through the police reform and what the committee came back to the council with, excuse me. And that was the same thing. They were tasked with putting together something, and it was basically suggestions. It wasn't the policy, it was the suggestions. And that's what we're going through now. And, up to either changing, taking out, putting in, that's our job. So I think maybe we just need to dial back on what we're putting on you to do. So let Bill and I do what you've asked us to do, and we'll send you out an email and let you know when we want to meet again. Does that sound fair?
Are we going to see the results of the survey? I mean, that's something that we worked on, and we probably should.
Do we have?
And that's something that I still owe the committee. There are about 25 more paper surveys that I have now that have to be input in. So whenever we reconvene, that should be ready to go for all the results that we have, including the paper ones.
Right.
Thanks, Chris.
Right now, everybody, I'm looking at reconvening, and I'll tell you why. In 2 weeks, which is be the 22nd, I'm not here on Wednesday. I'm away at a conference. So I'm going to suggest that we look at the next one after that would be the October 6th. That would give Linda and I a month to get things straightened out here, to come back with a plan to everybody here, have HR work here and working, and get that settled in and bring it back to you. Is that okay with everybody?
Sounds good to me.
Yep, that works.
Okay. Well, I
And
want to
then-
thank everybody. I know you're frustrated. And all I can do is apologize from my end, and we can move forward. So.
Me
Okay,
too. And I think it'll give us time to regroup and see exactly what we want to do with this committee. So I will see you guys on October 6th. Okay?
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.